Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Star Citizen Live. Meet Gavin Rothery. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, we do this every week. Maybe it's repetitive to me, maybe it's repetitive to you, but it's always somebody's first show, so I'm going to keep doing it. If you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end of our week. We kick back, we hang out, we shoot the craps with some of our developers. Usually we do big Q&As about our features and stuff. Last week we had the UI team on there. Sometimes we do our game dev segments where we showcase somebody and how they work and stuff like this. This week it's a little bit different. We're just hanging out and we're just chatting with a man who I'm proud to introduce here, Gavin Rothery, superstar concept artist and major motion picture director. Gavin, how you doing, man?
Hi, yeah, thanks for that. I'm very well. Yeah, I'm good.
So Gavin Rothery here. Oh, my scene isn't changing. Let's do this. There we go. Nope, my scene's still not changing. I'm sorry, we have some technical problems. Hold on, please. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. There we go. We had some. I won't tell you about them, but we did have some technical problems this morning before the show, and I don't want to blame anybody, but it was Tyler Wicken's fault. So we'll just leave it at that. Gav, you are perhaps the most prolific concept artist working on Star Citizen today. I use that word prolific because of the sheer number of spacecraft that you have designed for Star Citizen in your time here. Do you know what the number is off the top of your head?
No, it's over 20. I mean, there was quite a few early on that I kind of chipped in on, but I didn't design the whole thing. Like things like the Starfarer and the Retaliator. I worked on those, but I was doing like color schemes and things, and like texturing and all that kind of stuff, like detail work. Wasn't actually designing the forms and the shapes. But even forgetting that stuff out, I think it's like 24 or something.
Yeah.
One car, one vehicle, one with wheels.
What was the vehicle?
This one, Tumbril Cyclone.
Tumbril Cyclone.
Yeah. Everyone go and buy one of these. This kit is awesome. Not sponsored.
This is gonna be one of those shilling shows. I can already tell. We're gonna that was the show it again. Show it again. Let's do it. Let's just lean into it. We didn't plan it, but let's lean in.
Okay,
that is the Tumbril Cyclone.
Yeah, we're just talking about these. Myself and Paul Jones, who's obviously the art director, who me and Paul, we're like we work as a team, right? So whenever I do a ship, it's me and Paul working together on it. This is something that he actually introduced me to. And Paul's one of these really, you guys will know this if you watch the stream, like you'll know Paul better than you know me, but he's one of these, like a real artist where he's got all these different strings to his bow and he does all these different things. And I think one of the reasons why we get on so well is we've always got so much to talk about around the ships. And yeah, he bought one of those models and he was painting it up. And I've got like a constant shelf of like half-built models right over there. It's got my Metal Gear Rex that I've been building for about 5 years now and still haven't finished. It's just finding the time to do this stuff. But basically, Paul challenged me to a build-off where we both take this Tumbril Cyclone kit, do whatever we want with it, paint it up, make it look fancy, and basically just try and create the coolest version of it. So I kind of have that in the back of my mind to get on with that at some point. It's just finding the hours in the day. He's miles ahead of me. He's kind of got his all kind of built and primed and stuff, and mine's still sat in the box. But yeah. With Paul Jones, it's fun times.
Folks in the chat are asking where to buy them. I don't have the URL. This actually wasn't a planned ad, but it's JRD Fabrications. It's JRD Fabrications. I've got one. We got a couple back here. I've got some personally.
Yeah, I have a website here, jrfabrication.co.uk, robertspaceindustries.com. Guys, this has turned into a commercial.
I rolled over my wire.
It's just so good. Like for me, when I'm designing a vehicle.
Kind of Give me a second.
When somebody goes out of the way to.
Tell them about yourself.
I was born in Yorkshire in 19. Okay, so what this is basically my brain leaking out into the real world via the conduit of other artists and industry, and it's amazing. Like when you create something which is it's all virtual, right? All the work that I do with Paul and on Starset and everybody else, it's all virtual. It's all on the computer. It's all digital. So when somebody takes the time to actually do a really finessed version of that in the real world that physically exists, it just blows my mind when I see it. It's like something's come out of my brain and it's real and I can hold it in my hands. The first time I ever experienced that was when I designed the sets for Moon. And it was when I designed everything in the computer, built the sets, lit them, everything in the computer, and then handed it off to a bunch of chippies and they built it. And walking through that set, when it was like half built, walking through it was just the most amazing thing. I was like, because I've been walking around the digital set for a few months as I was designing it all. So to actually be physically in that space and to be able to, like when the roof went on and the noise quality changed, like things took on a bit of an echo. I mean, it was, movie sets are all made of wood, so it's basically like being in a big shed. But when the roof comes on and the sound gets contained,
right,
there's a real vibe that you get from these places. So I always have this, I love that feeling so much of something from my brain becoming real. I mean, a film set's a particularly great one because I always design sets that are like fully enclosed boxes where you can walk in and close the door. So you're in there when you're in there. It's the same thing with Archive. So when I can experience a physical version of something that's kind of only ever existed in my mind and then the computer, it blows my mind. I mean, I just pulled these off my other desk to show Jared a minute ago, but another example of this is this one here, which is a lunar rover from Moon. I made this. UNCL. Actually, this was the last one on the website, so those might all be gone forever, who knows. But I love the kind of 2020 garage kit scene. I mean, the JR design fabrication model, the Tumbrel one, that's way beyond a garage kit. That's a whole other thing. I just love it. I love it when people make real versions of stuff I've done. I did a design that I never finished, which was before all the new Star Wars movies came out from Disney. I did a design of a kind of a rough design of what I thought the Millennium Falcon should look like. And it was quite different. Have you seen that actually, Jared?
I don't think so.
Hang on, I'll see if I can find a picture of it. When I got it up on my website, I'm just gonna have to bring it up. So I did a whole, excuse me. I'm just showing the limitations of the human body by not being able to type and speak at the same time. I still haven't figured that one out. So let's have a look. Okay, this is, I'm just gonna do a quick screen share, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, I've just jumped to my website here. So this isn't finished.
See if I read that. There you go.
This isn't finished. This is like early on stuff, but this is just like there's no texture or anything here. It's just a model with a rough texture slapped on and a couple of lights just moving around to show a bit of form. But the idea here is that this is before the new Star Wars films came out, and I'd never redesigned an existing ship before, and I thought, it might be fun to have a go at the Falcon. So this is what I thought the Falcon would look like, like a cool beefed up Falcon that I thought was quite interesting. And since I did this, it's kind of, this is so rough. This is all very, very work in progress stuff. But I put them on here just because I don't know if I'm ever going to get to finish it. And I just kind of liked the feel of it. But I just think stuff like this looks pretty meaty and it's a lot chunkier than the regular Falcon. But I got contacted by, I can't remember who it was. I got contacted by some model maker who wanted to make a model of it. So I sent over my 3D files and they're building like a 2.5 foot long version of it. And every now and again, I'll get an email from them. I sent them over all my digital stuff so that they could, hang on a sec, let's just stop the screen share. Where's the button to stop the screen share? Excuse me a second.
It's all right. You can leave it up. I switch away from it. So.
Oh, sorry, I just killed it. So yeah, every now and again I get an email and I get a load of pictures of this build coming along and it's amazing. I mean, this whole thing, actually, it's probably about 4 feet long, actually. It's pretty big. It's like taking up a desk, like the pictures of it. And I don't know if this guy's ever going to finish it. He's been working on it for about 4 years now. But if you've ever been to the RPF, like the Replica Prop Forum, I love that website. You get people doing these builds and they'll I mean, the dream build is the studio scale 5.5 foot Millennium Falcon model from The Empire Strikes Back, right?
Right.
And every now and again, somebody will be like, "I'm going for the ESB 4.5 foot, 5.5 foot, whatever Falcon," and they'll buy all the old model kits to get the individual pieces, and they'll build it as accurately as they can to the original studio model. And you see these builds going on; they'll run for like 8-9 years, like people making this one model.
Right.
I love
The,
that stuff,
the
honestly.
RPF is where I go whenever I think about, I, I, I want to build this, or I want to cosplay this, or whatever. And then I go to the RPF and I'm like, ah, no, no, I can't do that.
Yes, you
It's
can. You can.
no,
Modeling's amazing.
it's the time
Oh,
involved.
that yeah, that's fair enough.
It's the time involved. I actually got, you've been showing off all your stuff. I got a new thing. I want to show mine off, guys. If you were expecting any kind of format or shape to this show, this isn't going to be one of those. This when I say we hang out, sometimes this is a hangout. But you've been bragging on your toys. Let me brag on one of my toys here. I just got this. This was just delivered to me this week. This is a 3D build of one of our in-game helmets.
That's
Right
sweet.
here. Let me go to the full screen here. Go to the full screen here so we can be seen. Folks who watched CitizenCon might remember that longtime Star Citizen Ken Shadow made himself an entire costume of this and won the first place. He came to town. He came to town this weekend, and we got to hang out for a bit. And yeah, he showed up with a little box and had one of these in there for me. So thank you once again, Ken Shadow. But yeah,
Do we know? Do we know the artist who designed that helmet? Do you know who it was?
I do, although I'm so unfocused right now, I can't think of the name.
Yeah, I don't know the guys on any of the guys on the character teams. I just hope that they know that that exists, because I'm sure you'll make the day if you if they find out that that exists. They'll be delighted.
Yeah.
That whole thing about things coming out in the real world, it's cool.
Now, for the folks in chat that are like, put it on, I have an extra large head. It does not fit.
It's a bit of a trick, your background, Jared, with it being out of focus, because I can see you've got some cool stuff, but I can only identify about 40% of it.
Well,
Is that a Boring Company flamethrower? It's like it looks like there's a rifle with like some white furniture on the top.
Yes. It is not a flamethrower. It is not a flamethrower, and despite it not being a flamethrower, I am not allowed to shoot it in the office.
Is it BB gun?
I learned the hard way.
Is it BBs?
Let's just say there's not a whole lot of things CIG says, Jared, you can't do. Shooting that in the office is on the very short list of things I'm not allowed to do anymore. Yeah, but no, the background. We came back to the studio in April of this year, actually, and that's where we debuted this. And for the longest time, people thought it was like an image, like a virtual background or whatever. And the first time I rolled back there and grabbed something, like chat was like, "It's real." I'm like, "Yeah, this is all my crap. This is all my crap."
I think it's because you've got a proper lighting setup, and there's a separation between you and the background, and a bit of a distance. So you've got your lighting setup, and your background's got its own lighting setup. So I can see why people would think that.
It's sometimes I get fancy.
It's because you're a mystery, Jared. That's what it is. You're an enigma. Everyone's like perplexed.
We should see my Wikipedia page. It's terrible.
I did. I looked it up. I saw your tweet on that. I looked it up a couple of nights ago. It was awesome, actually.
I get a text from my mom. My mom doesn't text a whole lot. She goes, I went looking for you on the internet, and that was the first time I'm like, oh no. And she goes, I found this, and she links me the my own wiki entry, and she literally the next line goes, I thought you did more in 7 years, and it hurt. Like it hurt. I was like, because my mom doesn't watch the show. She's never seen Star Citizen Live or ISC or CitizenCon or any of those things. I asked her once why she doesn't watch, and her exact answer was, I put up with your shit for 18 years. I know what you do. So I can't argue with it. She's right.
Harsh but fair, Mum.
All right. So back when I lost my earpiece and I couldn't hear you for a while, when I came back, you were talking about Moon. You were talking about Moon. Moon, is, of course, is the motion picture written and directed by Duncan Jones, right?
Yeah.
Duncan Jones. Yeah. Talk to me about working on that. We were going to do a chronological thing, but screw it. Let's just jump where
Oh,
this conversation took us. You already mentioned Moon. Moon was a major motion picture starring Sam Rockwell, written and directed by Duncan Jones, who some people might know from Source Code, and being David
Warcraft.
Bowie's kid.
Yeah.
What was it like working on it? How'd you get involved in that?
Well, it's a funny thing, really, because Moon wasn't typical. I mean, it's like a lot of people that are, when you look back on your life, things aren't typical, and they kind of, you can't really design a way to get there. You just kind of ended up there, and it doesn't really work any other way when you look back at it. So Moon was a direct consequence of Duncan and I meeting at a games company back in '97, I think it was. We worked at a games company run by a chap called Demis Hassabis, who is Demis is a really interesting chap, actually. He now he's a programmer, and he set up a game studio, and he hired myself and Duncan independently. Now, Demis created a company called DeepMind, which was an AI company that he sold to Google. And they created AlphaGo, which was the software program which plays Go. Is it Korean chess, like the ancient Korean chess?
Yeah,
type
something like that.
No,
I'm not.
It's
I'm
like
not enough to know.
black and white stones on a wooden board on a grid. And originally, if you go back in the day, like go back to the 80s, people used to say, they'll never be able to create a computer that's powerful enough to beat a human at chess, right? And then in the 80s, IBM created Deep Blue, beat Garry Kasparov, done. Humans are definitely inferior to computers when it comes to chess. After that, the big challenge was that they'll never be able to create a computer that can beat a human at Go, because it's just got so much more complexity. But Demis did that like last year, 2 years ago. Demis and his team pulled it off 2 years ago. So they created a software program that played the human champions, a chap called Lee Sedol, who was a South Korean guy, and it totally trousered him, like won 4 out of 5 matches. I'm surprised he got one in, actually, to be honest. But yeah, so Demis is he's a small guy with a large brain. I think his brain's so big it kind of goes down his neck into his shoulders. So yeah, we met with working at Demis's company. I was on the art team. Duncan was hired as a writer, and we just became friends. Like, I didn't know who his dad was for like a year. We were just friends at work. We like the same stuff. We were working on the same job. So, I was running the sort of cinematics part of the art team, and he was doing the writing of those cinematics. So we were like working together all the time. And it turned out he lived a couple of miles from me in southwest London. So I lived in Wimbledon, he lived in Fulham, and his flatmate was an American guy that was going back to America. So he ended up moving in with me. And then we just, he was out of film school, wanted to be a director. I was an artist in the games industry back in the mid to late 90s. Working as an artist in the games industry was completely different from what it is now. We're making characters out of 200 polygons. Everything's made out of big flat triangles. It's the PS1 era, the N64 era. Your texture budgets, your poly budgets, absolutely critical and very, very limiting. Like, it really brought the art out. Like, it had to work in such tight restrictions back then. And I was always, I was working in 3D Studio Max at the time. And I always felt like I was swimming in the shallow end, like, create a character, 200, 250 triangles. And I was like, you can do more than this. So I would always play with the higher end features of the software. And that was what pulled me into the sort of FMV side of things, because I ended up learning how to do all the special effects and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to do as high a quality art as I could. So Duncan graduated from his film school, and he was like trying to get some traction without sort of selling out in any way. So he was just in the grind, trying to get, doing, pitch work, endless pitch work, free promos, things like that, free music promos. And we both love sci-fi. So he always wanted to do sci-fi stuff. And I was always like, oh, well, I'll put some flying cars in the background. I'll extend the city off into the distance. We'll put all this neon everywhere, make it like Blade Runner, all this sort of business. So we just ended up working on everything. So he moved into my house that I shared with a couple of other friends. We got our computers set up in a lounge. And we basically, the ultimate goal was make a sci-fi film, and we spent 10 years grinding away doing all sorts of stuff. Eventually we got some traction and doing some quite big commercials, which was great. Everyone's starting to get paid, careers are starting to kind of transform. That company that we worked at didn't stay around for too long, so when Duncan moved in, we were both freelance, and we just stayed freelance like that whole time pretty much. So we were just at home basically with our computers next to each other, hooked up, playing Counter-Strike, and trying to get a film made. And after 10 years, we managed to get Moon made. So myself and Duncan working together, that's what we did the whole way through. We were like a creative partnership basically, and I was doing all the art side of things. We just talk about all the stuff, chip our ideas in, and just we're around each other all the time. So that led to me getting pulled into film sets and learning my way around film sets and understanding how that whole thing works. And I always thought of it as kind of having my arms around the project, because I start off doing concept stuff and chucking ideas in when we're putting things together and designing stuff, and then at the end I'm doing the VFX. So it's like I was on bus, and that led to me just being around in the middle, which led to me getting into making props and all this kind of stuff. And then I'd always get asked to like act in stuff, and it was just like it was like my film school, right? It was like it was like me going through film school. We had a couple of false starts, but eventually we made Moon. And that was all born of incredible frustration. Around 2006, we were like at our wits' end, and we were like, this is never going to work. Like, we've been banging our head against the wall for ages trying to make this whole thing work. And I remember we were in the lounge, and we'd been out for a few beers, and we were both getting quite quite deep into the whole kind of like, oh my God, this, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And basically, we just had a big chat and decided that we were going to give it the big full-on balls-out try that we'd never done before. We'd always just been like, waiting for other people. It's like, we're not going to wait for anybody. We're going to plow forwards. We're going to get it done. So it's like, we'll just start. I'm going to go and design a bunch of stuff. We'll get a story together, and we'll just start. We'll start as if we were making it, and we'll just commit to it. We'll just do it. And we did. And what do you know? It worked. It's like I just started designing everything. We're talking about stuff, got ideas for a story together. Duncan's writing it up. And pretty soon we had a script and a whole bunch of ideas and concepts and stuff. And we thought originally we might be able to, through properly just grinding, we might be able to get £250,000 to make a movie. We thought we might be able to do that. So originally it was kind of meant to be that. And then we ended up getting £600,000 as a chunk of money, and it was like, maybe we can scale it up a little bit. So we got a studio booked at Shepperton. Actually, they gave us a studio. It was really quiet at the time. They were wonderful. Shepperton were wonderful with us from Moon. And we basically started building a set, and it's like, same principle, got some money in the bank, spend it, get it done, get it built. And all of a sudden, we're building a set down at Shepperton Studios. We've got a script, got a load of designs, and it was like, is this going to happen? Is this going to be real? Duncan went over to New York and got a chat going with Sam Rockwell, and he agreed to do it. And it was like, holy shit, look at this. We got Sam Rockwell, we're building sets. And it just sort of happened. We just start. But what got us moving was through being so fed up and so down and just thinking like, this is never going to happen. We just decided to start as if it was real. And that momentum and inertia just infused the project and just pushed it forwards, and it just worked.
What year was Moon? I've been trying to remember what year Moon was.
It came out in January 2009. We shot it right at the beginning of 2008. We had the sets built over Christmas. I remember it was a really cool Christmas because the big pre-production period, like 3 months of pre-production period, was like October, November, December 2007. We finished the set, had Christmas, and then started shooting in January.
So it would be a couple of years then. And for those folks in the chat, some folks have joined us the show. We're chatting with Gavin Rothery, concept artist and motion picture director. We'll get to that in a minute. Because we're gonna shill everything. I've decided to just we're just gonna turn right into it. We're just gonna shill everything. You can find Moon on video on demand and DVD, and you should check it out. It's a very good movie. Gavin Rothery worked on it and did all the What was your actual title on? Is it just
All right.
scenic
There's
design?
a little story behind this. Check this out,
Okay.
right? When we finished Moon, when you finish a movie, right, you collect all the credits, and someone's basically got a big list, and it's what everybody did, right?
Right.
And you need that because it's got to go in the credit roller. So it's usually somebody in the production team's job to track that as you go along. And when you get to the end of the movie, and you just one of the last bits of post you'll ever do with your credit roller, and you're going around and have I missed anything? What's going on? And there's lots of double checking and checking spellings and names. Someone always gets a name spelt wrong in the credits, always. Lots and lots of checking to try and get that stuff right, because once it's on there, it's on there.
Right.
And the producer Stuart, I remember I remember I was working and I was at my desk and he came and sat down next to me and he's like, all right, we've got to have a chat about the credit roller. And I was like, yeah, why? What's up? And he's like, he goes, I got to change your credits. And I was like, why? What do you mean? This is weird chat. And he goes, we got to change your credits because you've got too many.
Right.
And I goes, what do you mean? Because bear in mind, right, we had no money. We had some money, but making a film, right, we basically had no money. And so I was doing all these other jobs. I'd do all graphic design, I'd do the motion graphics, I'd do the previs, I'd do this or that, I'd make badges, I'd just all of it, build, get all the set design, work, do just all this stuff, make miniature models for the miniature teams and do all that sort of stuff, draw plans, all sorts of stuff. And I wasn't making any delineation because I was working just like I always did with Duncan. So I was just doing stuff, right? I did stunts in Moon. Whenever you see a stuntman, whenever you see a spaceman, you can't see his face. That's me. But the only reason why I was doing that is because we couldn't afford a stuntman to do any of that stuff. And I was the same height and build as Sam, so I could fit in the suit. And he doesn't look like there's many stunts in Moon, but there was a bit where the rover is crashed and he has to get on top of it and he sort of helps him in and out. And to shoot that, we had the cab of the rover, the cab of the rover with the exterior panel in for the exterior of the rover mated to it. So you could stand on top of it and go into it. It was all one side thing. And that was on a big gimbal that moved when we did the driving stuff. It's rocking around. It's like a few feet off the ground on a big mechanical piston like this. It's controlled with a joystick. And on top of this big piston, there's basically like a garden shed that inside is dressed like the Moon rover. And on top of that, there's a hatch in the roof. And on top of that is the dressing for the top of the rover. And I had to climb into it, right? So we had this whole structure and the whole thing was up on struts and stuff and on scaffolding. And I was stood about 20 odd feet off the ground, right? And I had to step off a scaffolding onto this rover. And after the crash in the movie, if you remember the movie, the rover gets ground into the back of the harvester and it ends up getting kind of plowed into the ground at an angle. So it was like about a 15-degree angle. And I had to walk across it and then go down through a hatch. Now, there was nothing to hold on to. And I was like 20 odd foot up in the air, 25 feet in the air. And I was wearing a spacesuit, which had ski boots, snowboarding boots for the feet, right? Double stitched duvet. So I couldn't all kind of quite sort of give you that puffed up feeling. So it's tight. I had a helmet and a yoke on, which if you ever worn like a big helmet, like a space helmet for any reason, you got your helmet that comes off, but you've got this like shoulder piece that comes on, right? And under here is the bit, you've got like a ring around here, right? And you've got the helmet comes onto it. So basically you've got a cut off here that comes out about this far, right? And you can't see down. So you can't see your feet, right? You can't feel your feet because you've got snowboard boots on, so you can't feel anything. And I had to walk across this inclined surface, which is just covered in things like about the size of bricks, like lumps of like tech and pipes and stuff. I had to open a round hatch that was barely bigger than me with the backpack on. Then I had to get into it and climb down a little ladder and lower myself in without bumping the backpack. I had to do it about 25 times to get one where I didn't hit anything. And each time, all I had to do was just slightly, and also the surface of the rover was covered in like cement dust to make it look like lunar soil, which is really slippy, like cement dust on dry wood with paint on, incredibly slippy. So the whole thing was like really treacherous, and I had to do it again and again without moving too slowly that it looked stupid. And all I had to do was just lose my footing, and I would have just fallen like 20 odd feet. And we had those like rock climbing bags that mats are about that thick. It wasn't like we had like 15 feet of cardboard boxes like to fall into. So anyway, fortunately I didn't fall. But when I say I did the stunts in Moon, I'm talking about stuff where I could have really hurt myself, but I didn't, because I'd say I'm a trained professional, but I'm really neither of those things. I'm just an enthusiastic idiot who happens to be the wrong size. But yeah. So anyway, going back to the credit thing, producer. Sorry, I go all over the place with these things. There's a lot happened, right? It's hard to explain it all because it's all interconnected. There's lots of things going on. So the producer said you can't have your proper credits, and I was like, why? And basically they said, well, they were worried that it would make Moon look like a student film instead of a respectable professional film, because. And I was like, well, how many credits have I got? I was just doing all the work, so I hadn't worked it out, I hadn't broken it all up. I was like, how many credits have I got? He goes, 17. I was doing like matte paintings and all sorts of stuff. I was like, okay, what do we do? And he was like, well, let's combine a few and trim a few off. We'll see what happens. So I ended up getting 3 credits on Moon, and one of those is 3 credits in itself. And one of them's completely made up. It's a production concept. And it was supposed to be like concept design, production design, all of that meshed together. But what it actually does is it puts me outside any of those criteria on a search. So it kind of looks like I didn't do any of that work when I actually did like all of it. But, you know, first film, who cares? Like, whatever, doesn't matter. But that was how Moon got, that was the kind of spirit of that project. It was all a bit silly. But the really cool thing about it was, you know, we did it. We made that film and people really responded to it and really liked it, which meant everything, because when we were doing it, I remember, I've got a little story about this that kind of sums it all up. When we were shooting it, we had a moment where we were literally on set, Sam was acting, cameras rolling, and me and Duncan were just sat at the side watching, like, you know, watching the take. And Duncan kind of leans back to me and he goes, he had like a little confidence bubble, and he goes, is this any good? Like, speaking really quietly, and I was like, what are you on about? What do you mean? And he goes, is this any good? Like, what we're doing here? Like, I can't tell. And I was like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I kind of don't know, like, in the moment, like, because it's just a series of moments when you're filming, and you don't really have the holistic approach until you start seeing things coming together in the edit, which usually happens quite a bit later. So I sort of turned to Duncan and I was like, well, I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. Like, we're both here and we're both like looking through binoculars right now at this one moment right in front of us, and we don't have that broad vision, because once you get into production, you have to get laser focused on all the moments. So you kind of lose the broad picture a little bit when you're in your day to day. And that was what was going on. So I said, look, honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Same as you. We're both in the same boat right now. But what I can tell you is that we've never tried as hard as anything in our lives as what we're doing now. This is us going full out. So if it doesn't work, it's not because we didn't try, because we're trying as hard as we can. And that's all I can tell you for real for now. And it's funny because that always stuck with me, because, you know,
I feel you. I feel you. I've been here. I've been with CIG, you know, since 2014, and I've been through enough jobs, enough different tasks and whatnot that I feel sorry for whoever's going to have to figure out the credits when it comes time to to list me. It's going to be a very similar thing. It's just going to be, he did this. It's like, cool, you know, whatever. For those of you who have joined the show midway and are like, what the hell is going on? Again, this way. This is Gavin Rothery, superstar concept artist. He's the designer, the visual designer of more Star Citizen spaceships than any other human being alive or otherwise. We last year we did a show with Gav where we went through his entire work up into that point. That's still available on both Twitch and YouTube. You want to check that out. I believe it was called The Ships of Gavin Rothery. You can check that out. That's his entire history with Star Citizen. We're taking this hour to just hang out and get to know a little bit more about the dude himself. Star Citizen is not just a project of the people who work in-house, you know, come in, day out, you know, come to the office, you know, work CIG salary. It is also the work of many incredibly talented outsourcers or freelancers, however you want to refer to it. Gav being one of them, the tremendous Jim Martin, who is the person who's done the second greatest number of ships, second to Gav. Jim's history goes back to Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Starship Troopers and Lilo and Stitch and Frozen. So he always likes when I mix Frozen in there. Also, most recently, George Hull, the tremendously talented George Hull, whose work you may have seen recently in the new Doom. Up in the movie theaters, has done ships for us, including the Aegis Reclaimer and stuff like that. So we don't get to speak to these people very often. So I wanted to take 1 hour of the hundreds of hours we put out every year, the thousands of hours we've put out over my entire time here, and just get to know a dude. Get to see what takes him tick, and give him a chance to shill for a couple things. Like JDR Fabrications, we shilled for Moon, available on DVD and VOD, wherever you could find it. You ready to do one more shill?
Yeah, I've got a good one. Hang on, here we go. Where's it gone? I can't find it.
Let's do another shill.
I tied it up. Oh, hang on, here we go. Oh,
I actually don't know what he's grabbing right now.
Look at this.
It's just a hangout show, guys. There's no structure or format to this. We're chilling.
All right, I'm going for multiple covers here. All right, I'm shilling right. Sorry about that. I tied it up and temporarily lost these. All right, I'm going in for a shill.
There you go.
There we go. Archive out now.
Archive. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about Archive. Archive was the movie you wrote and directed.
Yes.
Came out last year. I saw it in a drive-in.
It came out during the pandemic, and the real bummer about that is when we were selling the film. how the independent movie business works is you make a movie. So say that like it's so simple. You just make a movie. You make your movie. You write your script, get your project together, team up with a production company, get everybody interested in what you're doing, and you go out and find an actor that's got some clout. Then you go and see financiers and say, hey, I've got a cool script, got a cool actor, this whole thing's going to make you some money. They say, cool, give you some money, bunch of deals get done. Excuse me, you go away, shoot your film. Then you finish your film, and then you take that to distributors, which are companies that are located all around the world in all the different territories. And they make offers on your film, basically buy the rights to release it in their territory. And then once people go and watch the film and money starts coming in for the film, first thing that happens is they recoup their costs. And then on top of that, you have what's known as overages, which is where you're into actually making money, where it all gets split with a pre-approved deal. And that's how you make money with a film. You get a chunk of money for doing the deal. And then, if it goes into profit, you'll get overages eventually after months and months and months of the clearance collections company sitting on it in their bank account. So basically what happened with Archive was when we'd finished it, the sales team at the production company did those deals with the film, and we sold out globally, theatrically, which meant that this little indie British science fiction film that we made was going to be like a global cinema release, which was just awesome. And then we had the pandemic and all the cinemas got shut. So, what are you going to do?
For the folks in chat that are discovering that you're the dude from Archive, several people are now. Do not spoil the end. I will ban your happy butt from the Twitch chat forever. Do not spoil the end. And actually, Gavin and I have never actually talked about Archive. When it came out, I went to a drive-in to see it because the normal theaters had not officially opened yet. But we actually had a drive-in. Local. Cool. So I went and I went to see it, and I hadn't been in a drive-in in two decades maybe, and I'd forgotten that they used your radio and your car speakers. They don't put a speaker on your window anymore. That's how old I am. And I learned the first time I saw it that the passenger side speaker in my car is blown out. I don't listen to a lot of a radio. So I actually saw it once and then went and got the radio fixed, and then went back and saw it again. And I'm like, oh, that's what the other channel of audio sounds like the whole time I watched it. And then for folks who are talking about where you can watch it now, if I'm not mistaken, it's available on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's Netflix. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
It's not Prime Netflix, Video. But it's pretty much everywhere else. It's on Apple. Yeah, it's all over the place.
I'll see. Like I said, this wasn't a planned show. We've just naturally fallen into this. So
that's Archive on Blu-ray. Available on Blu-ray and DVD, all good tobacconists.
The one thing I do want to say, you've got some of them on the corners of your drawers there, and I see you've got the big, you've got the sign, the fire sign from Archive behind you, like almost directly
I
behind your head.
do.
There's a term for this kind of language that I've been sitting here trying to remember since you started the call. It's not like somatic
Hoarding.
symbols. What was it called?
Hoarding.
No, no, no. The design of the symbols.
Semiotic standard.
Say it again.
Semiotics.
Semiotic.
Yeah.
Standards. That always seemed like that would be fun in and of itself. Designing a semiotic standard for a game or for a movie, just that alone.
Well, this is, to be honest, when I was doing Archive, I mean, a lot of my work on Archive was me kind of doing what I did on Moon, but also, you know, the full-on writing, directing thing instead of just like chipping ideas in. I was actually doing it full time. So, but all the other stuff was the same. I was designing the set, all that stuff, graphic design, motion graphics, all that stuff. I was still doing all that work. And I was doing it because I wasn't doing it. We had a budget with Archive, and it was still a tight budget, but I could have got somebody else to do it if I wanted to. But I wanted to do it because it was actually relaxing and fun to do. So, like, we'd be out in Hungary, and, you know, we're in pre-production. We shot in Hungary, so with pre-production, when you've got your set being built, the last few weeks of pre-production, I was out there, and, you know, you've got loads of jobs to do. Mainly just checking in on everybody and bringing it all over the line correctly when everybody else is working, making sure it's all what you need to be. And so I was doing loads of graphic design and motion graphics, like on the spot, like when I was out there. And I was kind of freaking some of the people out on the production team, because they were saying to me, like, why are you doing this stuff? Like, you don't have to do this. And I was like, I love it. It's awesome. What are you talking about? This is like really, really fun and relaxing. And I'd be up working doing graphic design till like 3 a.m. and come in with a bunch the next day. And it's like, okay, let's get these to the printers. We'll get some vinyl up there. We'll do this. We'll do that. And yeah, people were thinking I was crazy, but It was just, for me, right, there's two types of work, right? There's a type of work that tires you out, and the more you do it, the more tired you get. And there's another type of work where the more you do it, the more it charges you up. And I find with this stuff, I get energy from doing this work. Do you know what I'm talking about? That kind of work. Like, you enjoy it, right? Some work that you just flat out enjoy. And so, you know, I'm a big believer in just taking your energy wherever you can get it from. Like, if you're doing something and it's got a good vibe about it, or it's doing something good for you, just do it.
It took me 35 years of life to find a place where I could get that second kind of energy. Speaking of which, let's talk about Star Citizen. We're now 40 minutes into our Star Citizen show. Let's do a little bit of Star Citizen here. One of the things we didn't cover the last time you were here was how you came to the project. You've shared a little bit about your early work in the game industry, back in the early 90s. You've now, got a major motion picture under your belt with Moon in 2009. How'd you get caught up? How'd you come to Star Citizen?
Well, the story of the events that were happening in my life were after Moon. I was quite burnt out after Moon. I was like, I'd worked on it for 22 months. I was burnt out and I was skint. I'd worked on it for 22 months. I'm gonna overshare a little bit now. Over that whole period, I earned £15,000 for 22 months. Right? I was in debt. I was on credit cards, living on credit cards. Working in the movies, like, you can get to a certain point, and I'm sure it's awesome, but that's not where I am right now. And Moon, like, I was living on cans of beans and soup. Honestly, that's where I was. I was super in debt. I wasn't in a great place, and I'd been grinding that whole period. So, I was pretty, when it wrapped and it was all done, you can feel a bit adrift after these things, right? When you've been putting everything into something for such a long time, and then it's just like done. You can kind of feel a little bit adrift sometimes. So I didn't want to jump into another movie, because I put everything I had into Moon when I did it, and I put everything I had into Archive. And I just didn't, I was getting sent quite a lot of scripts from other people's movies, and they just weren't sparking the joy. And I just couldn't see myself putting that much enthusiasm into this other material I was getting. So I thought, rather than under deliver, or, if I'm not going to be able to do something like full on top level, I'll usually not do it, right? So I was passing on all these things, and I just needed to get my energy back a little bit. So I took a job at an advertising agency as a visual effects director, to just spend, because I've done loads of advertising with Duncan, and know how the industry works, know a lot of people in it. So it was a nice place to kind of keep my head down for 3 years and just chill out a little bit and figure out what I wanted to do next. And that was when I figured out, put Archive together and decided that I was going to give it a proper go. I've totally drifted now. What was the original thing? Oh yeah, how did I get involved with Star Citizen? So I had a kid. I left the advertising industry again in like 2012. And I was like, right, I've got my idea for my film here. I'm going to knuckle down. I'm going to write it. I'm going to get myself a little dog. She's going to sleep under my desk. I'm going to be here. Girl's going to be out at work. I'm going to be writing my movie. I'm going to will my future into existence. So that was what I did. And then pretty soon after that, I went and got my girlfriend pregnant. So, it's like, hey, we're having a kid. That's pretty cool. It was all on purpose. It was all good. So it was like, hey, I'm going to be a dad. That's pretty cool. But, I got to start taking things a bit more seriously maybe and, think a bit more long term. So I was looking at I basically ventured back out into the freelance space thinking I'm going to be a bit more responsible and try and kind of, because it's easy to not have much structure to your life when you're trying to do these kind of like writing a movie with the aim of directing it. It's quite a sort of high level dream type endeavor. And you don't know if or when that's going to happen, right? So you've got to be, but at the same time, my whole mentality has always been proceed as if it's real, and it'll, sort of force it into existence like we did with Moon. So I was doing that with Archive, but at the same time getting all kind of slightly paranoid about the fact that, I'm going to have a little baby living with us soon. And it's like, maybe I have to temper my, vision board a little bit, do you know what I mean, with a little bit of reality. So I was looking at getting back into the game concept space when coincidentally Paul Jones dropped in out of the blue asking me if I was available. And what do you know I was? It was basically complete universal alignment. And what I was looking for in my perfect scenario were new clients that were really cool people I could get on with really fun work that was right in my wheelhouse. That was ideally what I was looking for. And then Star Citizen dropped in my lap. And I've been here for that's why I've been here for such a long time. It was exactly what I wanted. The universe delivered it into my lap. And so I just grabbed hold of it. And so here we are, how many years later was that? That must have been 2014.
That would have been 2014. What was the first ship you helped on?
Gladius. I went right to on the Gladius.
The Gladius. You went from the Gladius, and then you jumped on and helped with the Retaliator, and we did. Like I said, the only other time we've ever had you on the show, we did a whole hour about your history here within the project. So folks can check that out. It's still in Twitch replays, and it's also on YouTube. Just search, go to YouTube and look for the Ships of Gav Rothery or Gavin Rothery. I don't remember if we abbreviated it or not. So you've been with Star Citizen as a freelance outsourcer since 2014. You've worked on what our best guess is 26 ships, including 2 new ships you're about to see at IAE. Don't you say nothing. Let me see if I get in trouble. He's got 2 new ships coming at IAE. What's your talking to you today? You remind me a lot of another outsourcer that I interview from time to time, a guy named Pedro, who's very passionate and very driven by his work and stuff like this. You touched on it a little bit, but what about Star Citizen? Keeps bringing you back? I mean, besides the fact that you obviously need money.
Well, the funny thing is, because of where I've got to with my career, I'm in a really good space where I get offered jobs quite frequently, which is very cool. And, for me as a professional, it's great. But I'm just really happy. On Star Citizen. It's me. I mean, most of my kind of day-to-day contact is with Paul Jones. And, we're really good friends. We get on really well. It's a pleasure to work with him. I just feel like we do really good work together. I feel like I tell you what, show me another game that's got ships as nice as Star Citizen. The level of love that goes into them all. I mean, it's great getting time to properly sink into the design because we get to do it right on Star Citizen. Like it takes a bit of time to get this stuff done, but it gets done right. I mean, I say this to Paul every now and again, but we just kind of look back at some stuff that we've done, and it's like it may be that there is never a game made that's had as much detail and attention put on the ships as Star Citizen. It might be the actual peak that ever gets done in the games industry. I mean, you'd have to go a long way to beat what we do on this project with the ships. The level of attention everything gets. Like, I mean, yeah, they take time to do. They take a lot of effort goes into these things and a lot of time and resources. But the end result's just amazing. Like, I'm constantly amazed with what the build team do when they take the translate. Because when we get the design, when we do a design together, I do a lot of work in 3D, so I'll build the ship in 3D, but it's like it's not a tidy model. There's all kinds of geometry crashing through. It's like I have to work quite quickly, and it's not ready for a game. And then it all gets rebuilt, but they've got a version of the ship to rebuild. So I give them a version of the ship, and then they do another version of the ship, which is tight and ready for the game. And just every time they just knock it out of the park. I mean, I could kind of wax on about any individual ship, but if you look at the Argo Mole, I think that's a really good example of this. Like what they did with that, like what the build team put together for the Argo Mole. It's a work of art, and I love it.
We've got a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and jump into some chat questions here. What's your not talking? Don't mention the two that I just hinted at. Besides those two, what's your favorite ship that you've worked on for Star Citizen?
Okay, this is tricky because I'm very fond of them all. I'm very fond of the Crusader Ares. Honestly, it's going to be the Gladius, the first one I ever did, and for a very specific reason. And this is another thing about why I personally love working on Star Citizen. It's Mark Hamill's ship. In the Star Citizen universe, it's basically Mark Hamill's X-Wing. And I got to watch that lovely 2-minute cinematic of, I forget the character's name in verse actually, but basically... Yeah, being reunited with his ship, and he's just running his hand along it and having his memories of his old ship. And oh man, look, I've got some goosebumps going on here. I haven't seen those on the resolution on the camera, but I get to see that. I get to design this thing and then hand it over and be happy with the work I've done. But then all this other work gets done, and then that drops way down the road, that comes out, and then I get to watch it, and I'm just like, God damn, that's Luke Skywalker, and he's running his hands all over my ship. Love it.
What's your favorite ship and why is it the Merchantman? The Merchantman was actually originally designed by Emmanuel Shui. I never say his last name right. Another brilliant outsourced concept artist that I left off the list when I talked about it earlier. Emmanuel works today. He did some concept stuff for Dune, before George Hull did. He's also a world-class table tennis player.
Is he?
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. Competes super professionally at table tennis and whatever. But no, he's another tremendously talented outsource artist who did our original Banu Merchantman there. Let's see what other ships whatever questions do we have from the chat. Remember, this gentleman is a concept artist, folks. He is a concept artist. So if you're asking about how this ship flies or whatever, this isn't the guy.
I can make something up. They'll never know. Bananas.
Please design an Anvil capital ship.
Ooh.
Just on the side. Just do it for free. I think most of your ships were Aegis for a while. Then you've taken the Crusader line and really brought the Crusader line up. When we interviewed you last time, it was just before the Ares was revealed, I think, so we weren't able to talk about the Ares back then, but you've really taken the Crusader line and really pushed that forward. Also the Argo line is very is you've had a lot of hand in the Argo line. Gosh, let me think. What can we
I can't wait to see the Kraken come together.
The Kraken will be cool. The Kraken will be cool when that comes out. Let's see, at IAE, think of what we can say here. Let's say that folks can take a look forward to Argo Day, and folks should take a look forward to Misc Day. That's about all we'll share today. Keep your eye out for Argo Day and Misc Day, and for Misc,
I like a big misc.
and I cannot lie.
How big is too big though, Jared? Can a big ship be too big? They can't, can they? That's another thing I really love about working on Star Citizen, to be honest. It's a range of of scale that I get to work on. You do something like the Crusader Ares, and it's like a cool little sports car. Then you do something like the Kraken, and it's like a quarter of a mile long flying aircraft carrier. It's awesome, and it's all in the same universe. It all needs to kind of fit together and belong together. You comfortable there?
Oh yeah, I'm very comfortable.
How are your feet? They're nice and cozy.
Yeah, it's that kind of
Good.
show. It's that kind of show. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up and get out of here before I get in trouble anymore.
Friday night.
Gav, thank you for hanging out with us on the show for an hour here. It is always a delight to see you, and when I'm in the UK next year, I'm just going to swing by and we'll grab some chips or something.
Cool, man.
Expect it down.
Look forward to it.
All right. For Gav Rothery, I'm Jared Huckabee. This has been Star Citizen Live. Meet Gav Rothery. If you haven't figured out the hints yet, IAE starts next week, where it's a whole bunch of days of all kinds of fun activities. Jax is coming back. There's spaceships you've seen before, and spaceships you'll be meeting for the very first time. Be sure to check that out and follow along with the robertspaceindustries.com website for all that detail. And if you haven't checked it out, check out yesterday's Inside Star Citizen, the future of space combat, where Yogi and Rich from the Vehicle Experience team took you through a little bit of yesterday, a little bit of today, and a little bit of tomorrow as far as the advancements of space combat and Star Citizen. Quite appropriate before we get into IAE. So take care, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye. See, see, easy. I absolutely didn't spoil nothing.